What is worth mentioning here is that there is a border crossing to Egypt from Gaza.
Which I gather the Egyptians have closed.
They have closed it. They let some through, but it's a minuscule of what they could let through. And it's worth noting that Egypt has almost 115 million inhabitants. Gaza has 2 million. Technically, they could take in tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of refugees without a problem. But Egypt refuses to do so, as they believe that they could be internal destabilization, that these migrants would create problems. So when it comes to the asylum-seeking issue and refugee issue, it's not just the Mediterranean Sea and Tunisia, Libya, Italy, but most parts of the Arab world are simply unwilling to take in Palestinian refugees, amplifying the problem.
Indeed, I mean, the country which has done the most actually is Jordan, of course, which is the country which actually has the fewer natural resources. It's rather bizarre, isn't it?
However, even they, in recent years, have tightened the screw on this migration. Previously, they did more. And of course, Jordan borders the West Bank, not Gaza. So still, these Palestinians in Gaza could not leave directly to Jordan.
But it is a very difficult. It's been a difficult situation for 50, 60, 70 years. And
since 1948,
yeah,
officially with Israel,
with
between Jews and Arabs for, well, to be honest, since the creation of Islam, or even earlier. So,
and you'd think somebody would have come up with a solution by now. I mean, it is just beggars belief that collectively the countries of the region can't get together and sort it out once and for all, because it's doing nobody any. It's not helping anybody.
It has to be said, though, that the attack by Hamas was, to a large degree, probably launched because they feel that they are losing support in the Arab world. You had the Abraham Accord signed in recent years.
It's all part of a wider kaleidoscope, because therefore you think, well, who gains from this? Well, it's probably Iran. Because if they can upset this increasing closeness, maybe closeness is still a slight exaggeration, but this increasing cooperation between Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Yes. They were about to normalize relations,
exactly,
re-establish diplomatic relations. It was a couple of months away, probably.
So this attack by Hamas has clearly been well prepared.
And also it's worth mentioning here that Russia and Iran are very close allies. Russia also stands to benefit from this, as now American weapons, some of the missiles for the Patriot missile defense system, for the Iron Dome, they have Tabriz missiles, which are produced by Raytheon in the US. Also some other types of weapons that Israel would need if there is a protracted war. These are weapons that would come from the US. For example, JDAMs that Ukraine is also using. This is basically technology that allows you to put on a normal, regular bomb, so to say. You put on it equipment that allows GPS guidance of the bomb, making it a smart bomb. So these are weapons that Ukraine needs desperately, and now some of them will be directed to Israel. And in general, the world's attention span is short. 2 wars at once, it means that Ukraine will receive less focus from the Western world in general.
And I listening to the news reports, and I saw that Hezbollah in Lebanon have started lobbing a few missiles into Israel as well. And of course, Hezbollah is much closer to Iran because they're Shia than Hamas, which has kept always a slight distance because, of course, Hamas is Sunni.
Yes, even though this Sunni-Shia divide has been less important in recent years, up until 2005, the main sponsor of Hamas was Saudi Arabia and the other Sunni states in the Gulf. After American pressure was applied in 2005, that started changing, and Hamas had to go somewhere else for support. And the only one that was really willing to help them was Iran. So since 2005, Iran is the main sponsor of Hamas. But as you mentioned, Hezbollah has an even closer relationship, and more importantly, Hezbollah has much more significant military capabilities than Hamas has. So
yes, I think it's going to be very difficult for Israel to have the right response, because if they go over the top, that is going to upset so many other initiatives.
This is what Hamas is hoping for, naturally.
Exactly. So maybe some degree of, I know it's difficult because we're sitting in the relative safety of the studio here, But I think some degree of restraint would be in order.
It is unlikely to happen.
But people get they get very emotional, understandably,
Yes.
and get very excited.
But it has to be said that the Arab leaders of the Arab countries, the so-called Arab street, maybe a little bit less, but also there are changes even with the Arab street, so to say. But the Arab leaders, they do care much less about the Palestinian cause than they did in previous decades. I believe that the Abraham Accords are not threatened by whatever will happen in Gaza in the coming months. So for Israel, long term, it is, as many say, it's a 9/11. It's a Pearl Harbor. It is something that will change Israeli politics forever. Gaza is likely to be reoccupied for potentially forever, but certainly for the foreseeable future. In general, Palestinian-Israeli relations have been poisoned for an additional long period of time. But Israeli-Arab relations, general, do not need to suffer.
No, well, that's something we must look at in the future, because alas, our time is up. But thank you very much, Adam. That's been fascinating. And it's, of course, as we often say, it's bringing history right up to date, which is still happening before our eyes. So thank you for that.
It's all interconnected.
All
thank
interconnected.
You very much.
Well, there we have it, another edition of Poland Daily History. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. As we always say, history is a fast-moving, believe it or not, a fast-moving subject. So we look forward to seeing you next time on Poland Daily History.